look like? How do we harness the power of AI by understanding its risks and doing so ethically and responsibly in alignment with the library's mission and values? So a lot of companies would sort of move fast and break things. That's not the approach we took. We decided to go slow. We decided to do this responsibly by starting with a robust governance structure. It's not the sexy part, but it's the part that keeps us accountable and responsible. So this is where we decided to get started, and this is what our governance and ownership structure looks like at the library.
Do you want us to hold questions to the end or ask it to the end?
If the end would be a little easier, perhaps. So we set up the governance structure, and then we decided that we needed sort of 5 core working groups, which included members from all parts of the library to make sure we have representation and we understand what's going to be needed across the library. So the 5 groups for us was AI policy and guidelines, vendor evaluation, staff and stakeholder education, use case development and evaluation, and then key partnerships. I mean, the names are kind of self-explanatory, so I won't sort of go too much into the details of what each working group is, but happy to answer any questions later if you have any about the working groups. So all of these things kind of started in parallel, with the exception of the key partnership work, which has started more recently. So I won't be touching on that much, but I'll be covering the first 4. So we started off by creating a set of policies, and in order to do that, we looked at the landscape of policies that were out there. We looked at for-profit, non-profit, public good organizations. We saw what we liked, we figured out what we didn't like, and where the gaps were. And in the end, we decided to use the GovAI framework to create our own policy. GovAI is a government agency which creates resources for public agencies, so you can implement your own AI governance program. So as part of our guidelines, we also created core objectives. Our core objectives are they're pretty foundational to our strategic vision and goals. Our first one is empower through education, foster AI literacy among staff and patrons to close the digital divide. We wanted to start with the staff because staff is at the heart of the organization. Make sure our staff understands what AI is before we scale it out to our patrons. We want to create a sense of curiosity for learning around this technology. Second is to enhance and not replace. AI is a powerful tool. When used strategically and responsibly, it can enable our staff to focus deeply on the human aspects of the mission that make our work so impactful. So we want to give our staff the knowledge and agency to navigate this together. And lastly, advanced library-centric solutions. We want to responsibly harness the power of AI to unlock the potential of our collections and improve patron services. And also part of our guidelines is our guiding principles. So these are again grounded very much in our mission and vision and values as a library. We want to take a human-first approach and be accountable. AI technology is considered a tool, not a substitute for human judgment or creativity. Oversight is essential with AI, and we want our staff to be in the driver's seat, driving rather than sort of letting it drive them. And security and privacy is another big one we care deeply about at the library. We have to make sure that tools that we build and or use, get from vendors are compliant with our security and privacy guidelines. Transparency, again, is something we care deeply about. We want to be transparent about when, where, and how we use AI as a tool to support our work. And then we have guidelines. I'm not going to go into the details. We have them. At a very high level, we only allow pre-approved tools. We want staff to use these tools responsibly and ethically, and revise, review, fact check, because we care deeply about veracity as a library, and we want our staff to do the same when they're using these tools. So AI tools are everywhere, and they are being snuck into existing tools. So it's very hard to sort of know where AI is being used and where it's not being used, and how they're using our data. Like all these vendors are adding AI tools inside, and we have no idea how our data is being used. So the first thing we did was put a pause on access. Like a parent hiding the cookie jar. It was, not everybody was happy about that. And then we created a very meticulous process for vetting vendors. This involved legal, privacy, procurement. We made sure we understood how our data was being used, what the terms and conditions were, and we went through all of that with a fine-tooth comb. And when these things didn't align, we stopped using those tools. So once this process was set up, we then went and looked for some tools that we could use. And some of these tools were the Gemini set of tools. So we had access, we sort of opened up a pilot for about 250 staff. We gave them access to the Gemini set of tools and our guidelines to see how this will work. Do the guidelines make sense, and do the tools work how we want them to work? So we had Gemini for Workspace, and Notebook LM. And we picked these because they are already sort of seamlessly integrated into the Google Suite, which is what we use. And one of the working groups that I mentioned was the use case evaluation working group. So as part of that, we had asked staff how they want to use AI. And Google Gemini seemed to sort of address at least 40% of those use cases. So we decided to use Gemini. So with that, it kind of worked. We revised our guidelines a little bit after getting the feedback, and people were mostly happy with the tools and how they were working. So then we opened up these tools to all staff. We provided them the tools, we provided them our guidelines, and opened it up to all staff. That happened early in October. And then we took our objective and we put it into action. We provided training to all our staff. We want to empower our staff and foster AI literacy across the entire organization. Our training program is multifaceted and designed to reach everyone, whether it's the board, technical staff, non-technical staff, executive staff, so everybody gets access to these tools. Some of these trainings are mandatory and some of these are not. And staff is at the heart of the organization. We want to empower them to use AI, create a shared understanding for AI, demystify some of these terms, make sure they have practical skills like prompting, and then taking the answers from those prompts and making sure that they can evaluate those answers for bias and other things, and how to do that, and how to use these answers, and how to use these tools in an ethical and responsible way. Again, creating curiosity for learning with this technology with all our trainings. And then communication is part of our strategy, which was one of the working groups, staff engagement and stakeholder engagement. The success of any major initiative is, especially as complex as AI, hinges on clear, consistent, and transparent communication. That is why it was one of our 4 pillars. We took a multifaceted approach. We sent out lots of emails. We did training as part of this, which was the previous slide. And then, we did town halls, and we did one-on-one meetings. We did drop-in sessions. We did support for senior leaders and people managers. So we took a multifaceted approach, and even then it felt like we could have done more. And that's pretty much it. That was our playbook. We started by creating a strong governance structure, followed by working groups, and then defining the policies, establishing clear guidelines and principles. We then developed use cases and vetted the right tools and a way to evaluate vendors in the long term, piloting these to our staff, making sure it kind of works, then opening it up to all staff, making sure there's communication strategy, and provide education and training to all staff and stakeholders. So looking ahead, the next thing that we are kind of going to do as part of our working group is roll out training for patrons. We haven't done that yet. That's something that will happen next year. So that's the next big objective for the coming year. Just looking back, if I had to change one thing, the lesson learned, rather than making communication a horizontal, we would have made it a vertical. We did a lot, but it just still felt like we could have done more because like we have 3,000 people and there are so many questions. People are different, some people are very enthusiastic about AI, others are not. So how do we communicate with an organization which is so wide on its views on AI? So I think we could have done more on communication. So if you are thinking about doing that, please make sure communication is a big part of it. So that's pretty much it from me. Thank you for letting me share NYPL's journey. Go out there, use AI, take a human-first approach, be accountable, and remember, the library will be there to provide you veracity when you need it.
I know, I'm curious. You said rolling out to patrons, so like library members would be able to use your AI?
Not AI, but like training.
Training, okay.
AI
That's
literacy.
I was like, that would be really interesting to roll out, especially with Gemini instead of like a generic.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
we're not rolling out Gemini, but we will figure out what the right tools for AI, AI literacy are. It might not be limited to Gemini, but the goal is to provide AI.
I think that's great.
Yeah, just curious, was the decision to go to Gemini really mainly because it just integrated with, you guys were already using Google Workspace, so it was a lot easier, or did you guys do a deep dive into ChatGPT and some of the other ones?
We did look at ChatGPT, we looked at Perplexity, we looked at a bunch of tools. One of the main reasons for using Gemini is because of data security. We have an enterprise agreement with them. We know how they use our data. They're not using our data to train their models.
Yeah.
Setting that up with OpenAI or other companies was a whole process, which would have taken much longer.
Yeah.
This was much more integrated, much more seamless, and we had more control on the data and
We
privacy.
did the same thing, but we ended up, we're on the enterprise Microsoft Azure platform, but just at that time, Copilot still today is not very good.
Right.
But fortunately, we were able to use somebody at OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest thing, was getting access to those guys very, very quickly. But we ended up going to ChatGPT just because it was a lot of people using it on a personal side.
Right.
And that was, in terms of adoption, that helped with the adoption as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Hi.
I asked the question.
Absolutely.
The first is, at the end of the day, if there's disagreement among any of those groups, where does the ultimate decision-making lie?
So for us, it's set in the governance structure. Our accountable leaders are the Chief Digital Officer and the VP of IT. So whether we do something or not sort of sits with them.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, with regard, this is a stakeholder question. Presumably you're set up not dissimilar from a university where there are leaders responsible for content bodies by discipline,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I'm thinking particular of content that may not be English language based.
Mm-hmm.
What role, what voice do those people have when you think of the spectrum of interests that are affected by decisions around AI, like language,
Mhm.
right, and like training models? Where do they fit in the ecosystem of having a voice in all of this?
So we've had many, many drop-in sessions, and we have people from the research side and the grant side who've been part of this conversation. The head of research libraries and head of branch libraries are on the governance board as well. So they have a voice. They can always go to their chief and sort of, advocate for a thing, and we can figure out like what's possible, what's not possible. Right now, we're at a stage of just experimenting. So if there's an idea that we want to try, Whisper AI for transcriptions, let's say. that's something we are open to doing as long as it, legal approves it. So everything has, if legal doesn't approve it, then it's not happening. If legal approves it, yes, we are open to sort of, figuring out how that might work and what policies need to be in place to actually release that. Experimentation is easy. It's actually releasing it. You have to have the right policies, the right roles and responsibilities before you do that. So we're in the process of still sort of experimenting.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm curious about the working group working on the use cases.
Yes.
And what were some of the main categories that came up? If it was more internal, operational, if it was consumer facing or other categories?
Yes. We ended up having two bigger categories, but one was like staff facing and one was patron facing. Staff facing was a lot about like spell checks and Grammarly and the tools that were kind of already out there and people were using. There was a lot about using translations was one of them, how to use AI, and Drupal was definitely one of them. So there were a whole bunch of things. Some we thought would be possible. Others we were not quite sure about just yet because there was a lot of questions around how our data would be used. So to begin with, we just looked at the staff use cases for picking up Gemini as a tool. We haven't rolled out much to patrons yet, which is, we'll figure out next year.
If I can ask a follow-up, how then do you prioritize among all those different potential use cases?
We created a rubric for that. And we also require that, we need a chief sponsor who has to sort of say this use case aligns with our strategic goals. So we are sort of making sure it ties into our strategic goals right now in terms of tools that require a lot of development or time. But there are other tools which are sort of just day-to-day, which are sort of lower hanging fruit. So we are okay with some of them as long as people approve it.
I was curious if you could share a list if it was publicly available, or if you knew of resources of tools that have been accepted and ready for prime time of enterprise organizations, been vetted by legal, have enterprise licenses.
I can share that with you
Okay.
separately. I probably wouldn't
Sure.
put it on a slide
Yeah.
and share it with everyone. If you have
Yeah.
a question about that, I'm happy to share that with you.
That's fine. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, Garvita. Thank you, everybody.